In the mid-1850s, Jim Green purchased land in the area now known as Bear Creek. Formerly enslaved, Green is thought to have been the first black landowner in the region, despite the fact that slavery didn't end in Texas until June 19, 1865. Life improved for the newly emancipated freedmen and women and their children and their grandchildren. In the early 1900s, Walter Holmes picked cotton for 75 cents a day.
From cane to cane, do you know what that means? When the sun rises, you got to be there sitting there waiting. When the sun goes down, you got to be at the barn, taking your harness off your mule, and that means after sundown. You understand? That's after sundown, not before.
Walter Holmes was the grandson of Pinky Holmes and Jim Green.
He was a good man. He's good to his wife, I know that. He's good to his kids, good to his stock, good to all of that. The best.
They depended on family and community to see them through.
And they believe in helping one another, when they could.
Starting in the 1860s, other formerly enslaved families started moving into Bear Creek. Among the newcomers were Ben and Rosa Dilworth.
And they moved here.
Georgia Morton Farrow was their granddaughter.
They left Austin, Texas in the spring of the year. And it was January when they got here. And on their way here, we didn't have roads paved. They were just dirt roads. And it was the wagon train. I'm sure it was a group of people, families got together and formed the wagon train. And in touring here, it was 17 of them it was 19 altogether with my grandfather and grandmother. And in touring here, some became ill and died on the way. And I think when they made it here, it was at least 14 children, because my grandmother became ill also. But on their way here, they stopped and picked cotton or whatever that was to do on the farmlands on their way here. They worked all the way to here. When they got here, it was in wintertime.
By 1900, 9 black families owned land in Bear Creek. None of them had been landowners before, except Jim Green. The community fought to have a school for their children, understanding how critical education would be to their ability to thrive. Years passed. The community grew and changed. More newcomers moved to Bear Creek, including the family of Jackie May Howard Townsell. As Bear Creek grew, Jackie stepped into the role of change maker and bridge builder. One thing that remained constant in Bear Creek was the tradition of celebrating as a community.
All the families that were brought up in this neighborhood, the south side, north side, we'd all come together and have a big fellowship picnic. It'd be on Sunday. We'd have a big picnic there. And we'd meet the folk we haven't seen in a year, sometimes 2 or 3 years.
They danced all night long, and when they weren't dancing in the daytime, they would stage like you would call them playoffs. And we just said then we'd have 3 or 4 baseball games in the run of a day.
And the tradition of celebrating Juneteenth planted roots that continue to this day.